Retirement dead, like the proper one, gold watch, final pay, 65 and done. I wanted to talk about that today. Hi, I'm Stephen and welcome to Gen X in Motion. Remember when we left school and the idea of retirement felt like this far off distant thing? You'd work hard, buy a house, pay it off, and at 65 you'd hang up your work boots, maybe move somewhere sunny, maybe finally have time to do whatever you wanted. It was simple. But that version of retirement, it's kind of vanished, or at least it doesn't look the same anymore. When we were growing up, most of us thought of retirement as a reward for a lifetime of steady work. You worked for one company, maybe two, you build up a solid pension, the kind that promised to pay you every month for life. You didn't have to think too much about it. There was trust in the system. The company looked after you, the government topped it up, and everything ticked along. Retirement was like a finish line you could actually see. But by the time we hit the job market in the 80s and the 90s, things had changed. Companies were moving away from those gold plated guaranteed pensions. Instead, we got the new defined contribution pensions, which basically means you put money in, your employer puts a bit in, and it all depends on how the market performs. In other words, the safety net turned into a bit of a trampoline. It might bounce you up, or you might land awkwardly. The responsibility quietly shifted from the employer to us. Back in the 1980s, over 80% of workplace pensions were defined benefit. Today it's under 10%, and most of those are in the public sector. That's a complete flip, and it means most of us are now carrying the risk instead of our employers. Over the years, more changes kept rolling in. State pension moved up, and it's still moving. The cost of living crept higher and higher. People started living longer. I mean, that's great news, but it does mean your money needs to stretch further. And job security? Well, that becomes less of a guarantee and more of a juggling act. Add to that the 2015 pension reforms, where we were suddenly told you can now do what you like with your pension. And sure, it sounds great, but for a lot of us, it also meant now you're in charge of a system that you never signed up to manage. The average retirement pot for people in their 50s is around £80,000. Sounds okay, until you realise it would only give you roughly £3,000 a year in income. Not exactly cruise ship money. We're the first generation to really feel this shift. We'll remember our parents' retirement, steady income, gold watch, clear finish line. But ours is fuzzier. It's a mixture of part-time work, gig jobs, multiple small pension pots, and a lot more personal decision making. If you're on an average salary, say around 30 to 40k, it's easy to feel like you're doing okay. But the goalposts, well, they keep moving. The age we can retire, how much our pensions will be worth, even how long our money has to last, has all changed. The state pension age for many of us will now be 67, and experts say it could hit 68 by the 2040s. So if you thought you'd stop at 65, the finish line just moved again. And here's the kicker. There's now this gap between what we expected and what's actually possible. We were told, save, work hard, retire comfortably. But now the value of that comfortable is up for debate. If we left school thinking we'd retire at 65 with a house paid off and a steady income, the new reality is you might work into your late 60s, maybe even 70s. You might downsize, you might work part time after retiring. It's not a failure, it's just that the world is changing faster than we were told it would. According to recent surveys, around 1 in 4 people over 55 expect to keep working in some capacity after retirement. Not just for fun, but because they have to. Most of us haven't stayed in one job for life. We've moved around, new opportunities, redundancies, sidesteps, and each time a new pension pot. So we've now got these little pots scattered around like old bank accounts, each one quietly growing, or not, with its own fees and investments. It's not easy to keep track, and honestly, a lot of people just don't. That's one of the biggest traps right now, losing sight of what you've actually got. The average worker in the UK now could have up to 11 jobs in a lifetime, which can easily mean 5, 6, or even more small pension pots floating around in the system. And here's another shift that hits home for Gen X: redundancy close to retirement. In your 20s, losing a job feels recoverable, but in your late 50s or early 60s, it can really sting. You lose income, pension contributions, and sometimes confidence. For some, that becomes an unplanned early retirement, whether ready or not. And you still have a decade to go before the state pension kicks in. That gap can be scary. Nearly a third of people aged 55 to 64 who leave the workplace early say it wasn't by choice. Redundancy or health pushed them out sooner than planned. So, what does retirement even mean today? It's no longer that clean break, it's more like a phase. You might slow down, take on part time work, maybe start something completely different, something that gives you purpose and a bit of income. Retirement today is less about stopping, more about shifting gears. And for many of us, it's about adapting, making peace with the idea that work and retirement might overlap for a while. If we look ahead, the direction seems pretty clear. We'll probably see the state pension rise again. We'll likely rely more on personal savings and workplace pensions and less on guarantees. And we might find that retirement isn't something that happens to us, it's something we design, maybe with a few trial runs along the way. The old script is gone, ripped up. The new one is being written, and we're the ones writing it. So, is traditional retirement dead? The short answer, yeah, kind of. The version that we grew up with, a steady job, a secure pension, 65 and done, that's history. But here's the thing, retirement itself, well, that isn't gone. It's just changed shape. We're living longer, working differently, juggling more, and yes, we're facing more uncertainty. But on the flip side, that also means more freedom to choose what our version looks like. So maybe traditional retirement is gone, but that doesn't mean the dream is. It just looks different now. Less about stopping, more about designing a life that still feels full, free, and on our terms. But hang on, we're Gen X. We've adapted to everything from dial up to AI. So, my final thought for today, if anyone can reinvent what retirement means, it's probably going to be us. Thank you for watching today. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If so, please give it a like and subscribe to Gen X in Motion for more insights on navigating work, life, and change after 50.